By age 8, most of us were buying our parents cigarettes. By age 10, we were riding in the back of a pickup truck on the highway with no seatbelt. And by the time we hit 12, we had scars on our shins, bruises we couldn't even explain, and stories no kid today would ever experience. The 1970s was a different America. The rules were different, the kids were tougher, and half the things we did then would shock a parent today. Let's count down 13 of them and see how many you lived through. Today, this would have the police at your door. Back in the 70s, it was just a chore. Our parents would slap a handwritten note on the kitchen table and send us to the corner store for their vices. Sometimes there wasn't even a note. We were just kids, barely tall enough to see over the counter. We'd walk up, say the words, and the clerk would grab a carton of Marlboros and a case of Schlitz without missing a beat. He knew our dad. That was the only ID that mattered. We'd ride home with the beer balancing on the handlebars, sometimes stopping to spend the leftover quarter on penny candy. And the wild part, many of us felt proud doing it, like we'd been trusted with something real. If you grew up back then, you remember. Nobody blinked. That was just how it worked. There was one word we learned never to say in front of Mom. Just one. The second, bored, left your mouth, she'd hand you a mop and put you to work. We figured it out by age 6. If you didn't have something to do, Mom would find something for you, and you weren't going to like it. So we got smart. We invented games out of nothing. We turned a stick and a rock into an entire afternoon. The minute boredom started creeping in, we were out the door and 3 blocks away before anyone could put us to work. The whole neighborhood ran on one rule: be home when the streetlights come on. That was the whole curfew. No phones, no check-ins, no share my location. We'd grab our bikes after breakfast and vanish until dinner. We climbed trees, dammed up creeks, raced down hills with no brakes, and got into more trouble in one summer afternoon than most kids today get into in a year. Our parents had no idea where we were, and that was exactly how everyone wanted it. The second that first streetlight buzzed to life, every kid on the block stopped mid-game and ran. Being late meant your dad standing on the porch with his arms crossed, and nobody wanted that. The family car was its own little world, and safety wasn't part of the design. Babies rode up front in Mom's arms, no car seat anywhere in sight. By age 4 or 5, Dad would pull onto a quiet stretch of road, lift you onto his lap, and hand you the steering wheel. We thought we were the ones driving. He'd grin and tell us to keep it between the lines. On long road trips, the way back of the station wagon was prime real estate. We'd stretch out flat across that rear window shelf, watching telephone poles fly by, falling asleep at 60 miles an hour. And once we hit 10 or 11, we graduated to the back of the pickup truck, sitting on the wheel wells with the wind whipping our hair, holding on tight every time Dad merged onto the highway. No seatbelts, no car seats, no plan, and somehow, every single one of us made it home. Riding a bike in the 70s came with no safety gear at all. Not a helmet, not a pad, not a single warning label. We rode from sunup to sundown, down hills with no brakes, and through traffic. Then we discovered Evel Knievel. Every kid wanted to jump cars and canyons just like him, so we dragged a sheet of plywood out of the garage, propped it up on 2 cinder blocks, and built a ramp right in the middle of the street. We'd line up our friends on the ground and try to clear them. Sometimes we made it. Sometimes we didn't. And remember those metal pedals with the sharp teeth? Every kid in America has a scar on their shin from when their foot slipped off them. The cuts and scars weren't injuries. They were trophies. Every house had a tiny glass bottle in the medicine cabinet with bright red liquid inside. If you fell off your bike and ripped your knee open down to the bone, Mom didn't take you to the hospital. She grabbed that bottle, pulled out the little glass wand attached to the cap, and painted your wound with bright red liquid that burned worse than the fall did. You'd scream, Mom would tell you to blow on it, and 20 minutes later, you were back outside. Your knee stayed bright orange for 2 weeks straight, and every kid in the neighborhood was walking around with those bright orange marks somewhere on them by the end of summer. Back in the 70s, you didn't have one set of parents. You had 30. Every adult on the block was watching, and every one of them had permission to set you straight. cut through someone's yard, mouth off to a kid down the street, throw a rock the wrong way, and the nearest grown-up would grab you by the ear and march you home. By the time we walked through our own front door, Mom already knew everything. And then came the words every kid feared more than anything else on earth: wait till your father gets home. That sentence ruined entire afternoons. Breakfast in the 70s was basically dessert with milk on top.
There's Lucky! Get us Lucky Charms! They're magically delicious!
A single bowl of Cap'n Crunch, Cocoa Puffs, or Count Chocula had more sugar than 3 candy bars stacked together. We'd eat 2 full bowls, then drink the leftover sweet milk straight from the bowl. Nobody read labels. Nobody counted grams. The commercials told us it was part of a balanced breakfast, and our parents believed it. We were running on pure sugar before we even left for school, and nobody connected the dots. Looking back, it's a miracle our teeth survived the decade. On a hot summer day, nobody ran inside for a glass of water. We ran straight to the garden hose. You'd twist the spigot, wait a few seconds for the hot water to clear out, then drink straight from it. I'm sure everyone still remembers that rubber and metal taste. It was the coldest water on Earth. Nobody worried about lead in the pipes. Nobody worried about whatever was growing inside that hose after sitting in the sun for a week. Today, kids drink filtered water from a steel bottle with a built-in straw. Back then, the hose was the bottle, and the yard was the kitchen. The toys we played with would land a parent in court today. Lawn darts were the worst of them, heavy steel-tipped spikes the size of a knife, designed to be thrown high into the sky. We'd toss them straight up over our heads, eyes squinting at the sun, hoping they'd land somewhere near the plastic ring on the lawn instead of in someone's foot. They got banned in 1988 after killing 3 kids and sending thousands more to the emergency room. BB guns were just as common. Whole groups of kids would meet up after school and have full-on shootouts in the woods, pumping pellets at each other from 20 feet away. The only safety rule was, don't aim at the face, and even that one got broken constantly. And then there were the firecrackers, bottle rockets, M80s, cherry bombs, all bought at the corner stand for a couple of dollars and lit by a 10-year-old with a book of matches. We blew up mailboxes, soda cans, and anything else we could find. And not one adult thought twice about it. There were no car lines back then. No parents waiting at the curb. No one walking beside you holding your hand. You grabbed your lunchbox, opened the front door, and started walking. Sometimes at 6 years old. Almost 90% of kids who lived within a mile of school made the trip on foot every single morning. We crossed busy streets, cut through backyards, walked past strangers, and made it there on our own. We knew every shortcut, every neighborhood dog, every kid we'd meet up with along the way. And somehow, every one of us made it to school and back in one piece. Summer in the 70s had one goal: get as dark as humanly possible. Sunscreen barely existed, and the people who had it weren't using it. Moms would coat their own skin in baby oil mixed with a few drops of iodine, prop a sheet of aluminum foil under their face to bounce the rays back, and lay out in the backyard for hours. We were outside from sunrise to sunset with absolutely nothing on our skin. A few days later, the peeling would start and last for days. Family road trips in the 70s came with their own atmosphere, and it was about 90% cigarette smoke. Both parents would light up in the front seat, windows up, and within minutes, the back seat was a thick blue fog. We'd sit there for hours on the way to Grandma's house, eyes burning, throats sore, asking if we could please crack a window. Dad would roll his down half an inch and call it a deal. Today, smoking near a kid in a car is against the law in most states. Back then, it was just another Sunday drive. Looking back, it's a miracle any of us made it out of childhood in one piece. But we did, and we wouldn't trade those years for anything. Subscribe to Memory Trails so you don't miss the next ride down memory lane. And in the comments, tell me which of these 13 you lived through. I read every single one of your stories.